Everybody, welcome back to Artist on Record, your ultimate intimate conversation. Get ready for our next episode with Tracii Guns. Don't touch that dial, but make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to be reminded so you don't miss any other episodes. Now, let's get ready to rock and roll, kids.
My 56 Chevy pickup truck when I was 16 years old, fucking cranking Atomic Punk, driving around Hollywood. That made me 6 feet tall. You know what I mean? Like Atomic Punk, you know, attitude.
All right, now we're getting closer now. We got number one. This is the final number one, the home stretch.
Man, what's that last record?
That makes you cry, that makes you just rock. There has to be that one that's...
So we got Diary, we've got Van Halen 1, we've got
Physical Graffiti.
Physical Graffiti and the
Song Remains the Same, Diary, and Van Halen 1.
Boy, this is tough. Really tough. You know what? I got to go with UFO Strangers in the Night. It's a double record. It's another flavor. It's still rock. It's still blues-based rock, but it's another flavor. It's a different kind of darkness and Phil Moggs, different kind of voice. Schenker's kind of half the template for Randy Rhoads in a way. The songwriting style is very LA Guns. It's very Def Leppard 1. It's very LA Guns, their UFO songwriting style. So I think that I would need that to be able to continue. Like I would need that influence on a desert island to come up with the more simple, straight ahead rockers, because that's what I always felt that Michael was great at then when he was very young. Too Hot to Handle, things like that, with very basic chord progressions, but with that swing and that, the teeth. Very somewhere in between, Yardbirds and Ozzy, isn't it? It's like somewhere in there, like, wow, tying old and new together. That's the one guy that like Slash and I both listened to and never talked about, right? It's like Jimmy Page, no, Joe Perry. Jimmy Page, no, Joe Perry. Ted Nugent's cool. No, Joe Perry, no, Jimmy Page, right? Like, so that was always this ongoing conversation in junior high school. But I knew he was listening to Judas Priest, and I didn't like Priest when I was a kid. But I was listening to Def Leppard's first 2 records and Iron Maiden's first 2 records. Like, those were kind of my things. That was kind of his things. We were both secretly listening to UFO and Jimi Hendrix. We never talked about those guys. As Hendrixy as we both are, we never talked about it. It's like maybe Hendrix was a given. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, Hendrix is the guy, blah, blah, blah. And then neither one of us at the age, 13, 14, were really ready to start playing anything like Eddie Van Halen's full-on style. So, that's why I always felt like he threw me the detour with Randy Rhoads. Like, hey, man, this is your guy. And in a way, I prefer Randy's playing a little bit to Eddie's, even though, and the only reason I say that is because Eddie did great experimental things, making noise and little cool gimmicks within really, stretching the pentatonic scale and the blues thing, right? And that's kind of where he's a master. The greatest thing in the world, and people don't really realize this, is the pentatonic scale for the listener, because it's only 5 notes. They're all pleasing notes, and in any sequence, they work over a minor chord or a major chord. So Eddie was the master of moving that scale around and doing cool shit. Where Randy, like I said earlier, he came from a major scale point of view, which, people that are a little muso-y, he would play in the relative minor, which gives you 8 notes, and boy, did he know what to do with them, so it was like spicy flavor. And then all of a sudden, like in Steal Away the Night or something, he'd be playing all this cool stuff, or SATO, and all of a sudden he'd be playing like these Chuck Berry riffs. Like, whoa, Like, wow, you just went from Richie Blackmore to fucking Chuck Berry in 1 second. Like, how did you do that? What gives you the right to be that cool? You know what I mean? Which leads to the one night at the Baked Potato, I'm sitting there watching Michael Landau play and his buddy, and I don't know who, I never met his buddy. They both had 59 Les Pauls. It was like a Wednesday night. There was 10 people there, and they just wanted to jam. And I think it was during our time. So, what was I, 37 or something? So, about 18, 19 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really intrigued by the way that they were phrasing. And I've always been big into phrasing. And I understood Randy Rhoads. I understood Jimmy Page, I thought. But I realized that certain things I'd try to learn by Jimmy Page, I would get stuck. I'd be like, wait, this is a blues scale. Or what are these other notes? No, this can't be right because these notes aren't in the blues scale. They're not in the natural minor scale. They're not. So they played for about an hour, and Lando came down and asked me, he goes, want to jam? And I go, not tonight, but I want to talk to you. When you do this, and it sounds like Jimmy Page, what did you just do? And he goes, oh man, he goes, it's so simple. I just switched from major to minor. I'm like, what? You can switch from major to minor? And then he gave me like a 5-minute lesson. And he goes, well, you take the pentatonic notes, they work in major and minor, right? And you just got to practice to know when to go full major, full minor. And it's there. And especially if it's a major chord, you can play a major scale. And I'm like, fuck, right. If that's a major chord, you can play a major scale, even though it's a minor key. So Michael Landau really glued it all together for me. That short evening, he really
that is funny.
And that's by the time, you and I got to the Cat Club, I was that guy, right? Like, hey, dude,
yeah.
I want to beat you up because I don't know why, but you make me uncomfortable. And why is my girlfriend looking at you? It's because I know how to switch from minor to major, bro. And it's such that way of thinking is really a studio guy's way of thinking, right? Because they get charts, and not necessarily that all studio guitarists can read music, but they simply, they certainly can see a chart where it says minor chord, major chord, major chord, minor, major, you know what I mean? And how lead guitar started in a rock and roll way, the rockabilly guys would play the notes of the chords.
Yeah.
That's like, so, guys Landau's age, I guess he's, about 10 years older than me. He's more influenced by rockabilly than I am, even to this day. And so if you kind of start out like that, we all know that's where Jimmy Page started out and Jeff Beck. That of course they switched from major to minor because that's how they learned. See, I didn't know until I was, 36 years old, 37 years old. Like, oh, you can fucking do that. You can play the notes of the chords. What? It's like somebody forgot to tell me when I was in Guitar 101. You know what I mean? Like just no one ever told me. I didn't know.
The baked potato, you learned that moment. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was the defining thing. And to this day, when I do occasionally give lessons to people that are getting there, that are like, better than advanced, like they're playing some heavy blues and writing and stuff like that. I go, hey man, you want to know the trick? And I tell people that trick, which isn't a trick at all, but it's something that's looked over, I think.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, in the way that I describe it, and you're going to love this, 10 guitar players get up at the baked potato. They're all good. And then there's the one guy that throws in the fucking major scale in the middle of the solo, and everybody's like, whoa, what did you do? Because there's always one guy that was that good, right? Yeah. There's always one guy that showed up that nobody knew. You're like, God damn it. What did he just fucking do?
It was a hidden. So do you think it was a hidden secret? Do you think you and Slash growing up as kids, hey man, Randy's your guy, this hidden secret about UFO? Because nobody would mention them. Maybe.
No.
Was it, overlooked. I don't want to share UFO with Tracii or vice versa because I'm keeping the secret spice for me.
I think so. And it goes along with Dave Murray too from Maiden,
And even if you look at the bass player, Pete Way, which Nikki Sixx took that look, and then you got Steve Harris from Maiden. If you look at
It's Pete Way. They're all Pete Way.
All Pete Way. But nobody
so,
credits Pete. You always hear the James Jamesons and all this, but you never hear about Pete Way getting
yeah. And Pete, such like Phil Lewis, he grew up with Pete Way. And so I feel like people on the East Coast and people in England and certainly Germany really, hail UFO as a major influence, like especially Def Leppard and a lot of the new wave of British metal bands. Of course, the Scorpions, they're brothers, but still, I feel that UFO is really the precursor to the pop sound of the Scorpions. Because to me, the Scorpions' early stuff, which is the stuff I kind of gravitate towards more, not as popular, but the later stuff from Animal Magnetism on certainly has the pop sensibility of UFO.
We got the top 5 with Tracii. UFO. And if it wasn't for UFO, Tracii and I here to say Nikki Sixx would not have the striped pants that he wore in Theater in Pain. Right. Steve Harris wouldn't have the galloping bass lines if it wasn't for Pete. Right? Yeah, and then Tracii, you got some of that secret sauce that you and Slash both have, but you wouldn't share with each other because you're trying to hide the secret from each other because you could put it in your solos that you do today. Really quick, a drop in there. I know that he was listening to Priest while I was listening to Maiden. So like maybe a little bit of his metal sense comes more from Priest, as where mine might come more from Maiden. So that's a little. That's what separates you guys. Maybe. Top 5 with Tracii. Tracii, it was great to have you here, man. I love you, buddy. I love you too. Isn't this better than getting the question that who is Jane? It's not Jane Mansfield. It's the Jane Doe pictures at all the restaurants around Hollywood. It's like, what is Jane? What happened to Jane? Like, it's an unknown person. Is that what it is? Is it Jane Doe? Mm-hmm. That's the truth. You just saved my marriage because my wife, can I tell you something? Yeah. While I was there on the Kiss Cruise, do you know how many videos had a video of you guys playing Jane for her? And she was kidding. She loves the Ballad of Jane, and I have so many different videos. So if you ever doing a video for that song, I'll send you everything I got. I got every different angle. So wait, you guys are playing New Year's Eve, right? At the Whiskey. That's cool. That'd be really we got a bunch of shows in December. And then I'm also going back to Denmark in December, so that's going to be a crazy month for me. So we'll put the links down below for you guys. And then how about new music down the road? What's going on? Anything? Yeah, the LA Guns record's done. It's called Black Diamonds. It comes out in April. It's the greatest record I've ever done in my life. And I'm not kidding. And then at the same time I was writing and recording that, I wrote and recorded an album for Todd Kearns, which he wrote the lyrics and completed. Both of those albums are done. That's called Blackbird Angels, and that comes out in September. So I'm done recording for now. Tracii, I love you. Thank you for being here, man. Always good, all righty? Fuck it, I'll talk to you soon. Everybody, this is my man, Tracii Guns. Links for him will be down below. Follow him on Linktree. Otherwise, everybody, we're out of here. I'll see you all later. Remember, who loves you, baby? We do. And out of here, kid.